Hello, and today we're playing the newest update of String Zero. This is the first intermission for the story, so this update will not continue from where we last left off, for the last update. Instead, it's gonna focus on, I think, I forgot his name, but he's Derek's father. The guy that okay, I forget his name too now, but anyway, he's like he's kind of like an important official. He's like over, I think, the Minister of Defense, and he's Derek's father. So this intermission, which is the first one this story has, is going to focus on him and he's going to experience everything from, we're going to experience everything from his perspective instead of the main character here. We're going to do things from his perspective. All right, so we're going to go ahead and start intermission 1. Oh, Ivy. We're all such peculiar little knots, bound and snarled by contradiction, and our attempts to unravel, we weave in pleasure or twist in pain, pull ourselves taut with a single and distinct sob, then snap silent. We're family, all of us. There's no stopping them. She loves you. These wonderful. Is murdering her what her is murdering her what your son would have wanted? In terrible threads. He would have wanted to live. That entangled us. If we stop this here, then we can recover, start over. You let it you said it while clutching your leaf. We were never going to be able to bring him back. We just don't understand radiant energy well enough. Look at our situation. You're not trading a life for a life. You're just killing her. Wow, it's one life for millions of lives. I won't allow the legacy of this project to be our colony's destruction. Not after how long it took us to travel here, the sacrifices of our parents and grandparents, my sons. You gripped that necklace so tightly your fingers burned white. Phil will be remembered, just as they are. The project's legacy? This has always been about your legacy. The colony, this project, even your son. Your gaze settled on Phil's prone, wild body. If we get it right, we could bring her back too. Everything could be as it should. Don't you dare. You close your eyes. We have to do something, Rachel. Sagios and a feedback loop. Full cascade. I can't stop it. All the construct overrides have failed. We're losing containment. The failsafe set off is the only thing we have left, and if we can't pull Phil out, the failsafe can't be triggered while there's activity brainwaves. I know. Preventing catastrophic nervous system failure was the whole point. Rachel, it's bad. I got multiple demons monitoring all colony media. Radiance manifestations are intensifying, and they are no longer localized to the city. Virtual creations are materializing across the continent. Even, my God, hospitals are reporting mutations, thousands of them. We aren't going to murder my sister. We all care about Phil, but we aren't exactly flush with options. Reality is buckling. Dean, how's my pets holding? Public access is still blocked. That bought us time, but not a solution. The sheer number of queries and counter queries between the original trial accounts and the council's privileged logins are still taxing the system. Why haven't you disabled the government's access? I tied their access directly to the engine as a safeguard to keep them equal with the trial accounts. What? Why? Parity. You and Ika already tried to reason with the trial adepts, and that blew up in your face just like I said it would. Now they've weaponized their spoiled fantasies into open revolt. Creels, the council's intervention could very well be what sparked the feedback loop. Don't lay this catastrophe at my feet. It was the right move. If we can't stop them, the council and the military will. This is bigger than insurrection, you little shit. VAI already can't keep pace arbitrating the existing queries. The spillover effects from Satya's unmoderated creations will destroy us long before politics. Finally, you open your eyes. Enough. We've all made choices only history can judge. Rachel, what's Phil's status? She's stable, but with VAI overloaded, the construct's still not accepting commands. I can't pull her out. I'm working on a Creels, the failsafe. Still not responding. It won't so long as Phil's in there. Just say the word. No. Cal, think. We've already reached the point of no return. Ika, it's bad, right? Casualty reports are coming in, hundreds so far. Rachel, I know, but blowing up the system just to start over won't do those people any justice. The damage done is just going to disappear. So we have to pivot, stabilize what we can, give me time to regain control. Then we can push global reality adjustments if we have to. And we'll need Phil and the construct to do that, alive. Right, Dean? Without knowing exactly why Satya's malfunctioning, there's a chance the failsafe hard shutdown will not resolve the problem. With Phil's talents and time, perhaps. Exactly. I can stabilize things. I just need more time. Please. What time? We might be minutes away from annihilation. Do you think Phil would want to be the cause of that? Quills. She will want to live. Cut the life support. Just listen to me. Listen. Operator's log. Airline. Colony date. 32.6. We're working late today. It's about 2,500 hours. It's been strange. I just got back from a night walk with Cal and Phil. He's been cold since the funeral. Still blames her, I think, but the day he was driven, warm. She's still having some trouble walking, so he insisted on personally checking her new implants. Yesterday, she could barely stand to be in the same room with her. He even apologized, said something like, I realized it wasn't your fault. You were hurt, too. He would be upset to see how I've treated the team signing star. I'm not sure how much I believe him, but Phil did. He told you that? She laughed and explained that was his favorite insult between them. She said he liked to think of the stars as dreams, so naturally that made me the worst kind of dreamer. Cal insisted there was some truth to that, since the project wouldn't be where it was without her. I think she understood she was unnecessarily trying to butter her up for something, so she pointed out how we all grew together, but how we all grew up and traveled through space together. Cal, your leadership, your vision, that's important, but it isn't why I've always supported you. Look, she tugged on his sleeve, walking forward on more confident legs and pointed at a dark, glittering sky. We're star siblings. Your dreams are my dreams. She never could tell him no. From Operator Esso's Lost Recordings by the Wanderer, Varanya. I am the company's chairman. In that role, there are two attributes I value most in myself. First, I am a leader. Second, I am an organized woman. Standing, I take a moment to survey my office, symbolic of my domain. All things here have been placed in a precise way for a particular purpose. For example, this desk X is a barrier between anyone else in the room, and not only for myself, but also the vast city visible through the great window behind me. It projects authority, confidence in my security, power. Conversely, the position of the chairs opposite and shorter than the desk demands that any who sit before me must physically realize the lower position of their station. Leadership is, after all, a matter of perception, and organization controls that perception. A chairman must always be organized. Bargainer. The thread-bound intelligence speaks through my console in a discordant mismatch of voices. Sawaz, my sister would call it, bound as she is to her Azatharan absurdities. Powerful words which embody a particular domain or idea. Yes, mistress. I then sit, arms resting to my side, crossing one leg over the other. The cresters of my red pants are clear and sharp, the matching jacket projecting boldness. My designer heels are black, exclaiming certainty. Organization like power must remain nimble. We must dress for the present. Summarize our current intelligence on Creole. The lawful bringer of order. He continues to exist largely in the cyber sea, where tracking him is impossible. I can only ascertain a location when he directly connects with you or Secretary Tarwolf from somewhere in or near the local net. I think we know who Tarwolf is, but we're going to check anyway. The Secretary of Defense, also known as Tarwolf. I think his name was Tarwolf, or I kept forgetting his name, but it's Tarwolf, yeah. His full name is Oliver Starwolf. His last known location was in the servers of a clandestine data haven. His physical location remains unknown. Maintained by the Owls, no doubt. Tarwolf has been subtle in his attempts to garner Quill's favor. A reasonable conclusion. As for Quill's intentions, per your request, I have made bargains with a handful of cyber mariners and other untethered intelligences. Bits of data, glimpses, and rumors all suggest he remains in active connection with portions of Stradhasvar hierarchy in its racing order. A rival country to the east, often referred to as simply as the Strad. holy warriors from Swadhasvar. It will also be reasonable to conclude any action their theocracy takes is an extense of his will. His contingency should work with his contingency should working through us fail is a full assault against Laotian territory of or relating to the government, people, and territory of New Leos. Hence your alliance with Secretary better call it what it is, an extended truce. We have very different visions for this city, but neither of us are interested in the inconveniences of war, and Creel does have his immediate uses. For an ancient bodiless consciousness, you think he'd find more interesting things to do than constantly meddle in human affairs. I never do. The swipe of a hand in my daily calendar is projected in front of me along with a spreadsheet of the day's objectives. You are also never human. Your fascination is understandable. That said, I do find it interesting that despite all the bits of people you've collected, you still consider yourself alien. You assume becoming human is my goal. I dismiss the projection. It will be a busy day. What do you want this time? More of my memories? Your requests have become more substantial. Even with his connections, Creel remains an incisive and dangerous force, especially to my kind. I will need more than a few notable recollections to balance the scales. Your sense of organization, for example. I smile in the air. What a sly creature. Using some of that stolen humor, I see. I am no thief. Thieves are compelled by the value of a thing, while I am compelled by the value of the deal itself. I take a breath, prepare myself for all the things I must do. There will be time to extract your payment after working hours. That a leader must do. As I have indeed lived and experienced my many lifetimes, which I am willing to trade in their cost. You can pick whatever you find compelling. Very well. Then, on to other business. Activate a secure line to Agent Ipsum. Today, I tightened my grip. With your upcoming expedition, Creel's intentions have become more focused. Further obfuscation will tax me and cost you. Today, I secure control. There are always costs. As you said earlier, discovery risks us both. You are implying my bargaining position is weakened because I'm too invested in our arrangement to leave? I smile. A short pause, and 3 rings later, the call connects and the holographic imager built into my desk projects an image of this ordered back alley street clinic. Ipsum has taken well to his undercover role as an underslept jazz doc, seeing to the endless needs of the underserved, the perfect stage for our covert experiments. But his response time needs work. Bed Wex, Red Lady. Better Wex. Good evening, Red Lady. Sorry for the delay. I had to get a client situated. You're not alone? My tone is a razor. No, I mean, yes, I'm alone. Control is always a bargain with uncertainty. How much risk is tolerable? How much cost? Well, a woman must conspire beneath the nose of a god thing. A bargain's risk must be mitigated with sharp judgment and deadly purpose. lest this underling's carelessness risk her goals. So I adjust my posture slightly, relax my shoulders, but narrow my eyes. I do not speak for 3 seconds. Status update. I can almost smell his sweat. Well, my client, that specimen 1049-I Juice, he's sedated in the chair behind me for the bi-monthly maintenance or his arm projector unit. He moves slightly to the side, extending a hand towards the subject. Transmitted vitals verify the punk's male Ikanu is essentially comatose with all non-vital implants disabled. The updated hardware is fully integrated into the subject's nervous system. We have full access to his higher brain functions. He continues to suspect nothing. The bargainer might not approve of wittingly trading a new arm for an altered mind, but their insights have been invaluable. A piece of the body for a piece of the soul. Good. I want you to begin phase 2 with the subject immediately. Of the current bats, the indicators for him are the most promising. I'll make the first adjustments during today's maintenance. Expected outcomes: he'll incrementally begin to lose interest in tech punk resistance ideology and become more open to our influence. In the experiment's final stages, he'll become a model citizen, gladly submitting to the company authority. Have you moved to prepare his father? I have assets working on the revered advisor. He already has little desire to accept his own responsibility in the estrangement of his son. I expect it will be trivial to convince him that cyber discordance was a reason for the subject's resistance to their family's pro-company politics and Calamite spiritual values. A dangerous condition where jazz integrated cyberware is rejected by an individual's biochemistry. Avoid related to the modern worship of Kalan, the savior. That's good. Having someone ready to accept his shifted worldview will help cement the behavioral adjustments. In the follow through, should things go as planned, the subject's change of heart will be attributed to your intervention. It will be welcomed by the Reverend Advisor as a cure for cyber discordance. In his misguided jubilation that he isn't to blame for his son's hardships, he will then proselytize to the faith industry and social media that your work is a panacea for a jazz tech related for all jazz tech related woes. Modeling suggests it will take only a week for an influx of willing or pressured jazz integrated subjects to begin knocking on your door. Within a month, your adjustments will have proliferated to hundreds, enough for us to perfect the source code before we reveal your fraud and allow the whole enterprise to spiral into public irrelevance. Does that timeline sound reasonable? It does. The risk of discovery seems acceptably low. He visits. There's something else. Speak, Ipsum. Well, what of Aaron? He gestures to the figure behind him. It's still footing the bill. Well, he's still footing. He's still footing the bill for the subject's maintenance. If he notices a change and becomes curious, it could blow my cover. He'll be distracted for the foreseeable future. Things would be simpler if you had him killed. They would. I resist the urge to smile. This is why I had selected him. But that's not your concern. I chose you specifically for this task. Focus on that. Thank you, lady. I will. I nod and end the call just as a voice echoes from my console. 5-minute warning, Chairman. Secretary Torwolf, Speaker Savone, and Agent Derrick have all been placed in separate waiting rooms. Speaker of the People's Assembly, the lower house of Laotian governors, known to a select few as Nev or Neve. They remain unaware of each other as per your instructions. Thank you, Mona. I take a slow breath, reflecting on my space. Torah will require different organization for me to best assert my leadership, my control. First, I adjust my seat 4.5 centimeters higher than usual. Second, I widen the holographic maps on either side of my desk by 10 centimeters. Third, I'm about to meet with a Dorwolf. Dorwolf's genetic history contains a 67% higher chance of light sensitivity to the spectrum emitted by artificial fluorescence. So I amplify the fluorescent ceiling lights by 5 watts. Mona, send in the secretary. The door opens to receive the large Dorwolf, cigar in one hand and a glass of amber in another. What is this? Like another sprite here. A new sprite for him. You certainly kept me waiting long enough. There are 2 armchairs in front of me. He moves with an easy gait to sit in the one furthest from the door. Less than you would have for me, where our less than you would have for me, were our positions reversed. True. Well, consider my duly reminded of my position beneath you, and thank you for the refreshments. He swirls and peers at his glass, casually sniffing it once. It's poisoned. I expected nothing less. Taking a large sip, he smartly eyes the carefully arranged items on my desk. I think your future guests will appreciate a selection of choice meats, maybe some cheeses. He seals his eyes as he adjusts his bulk in the intentionally uncomfortable seat. And dim the lights. I don't. The poison was an attempt to dull your usual repartee. I was not blessed with your fetish for wasting time. Status update. He sighs dramatically. Very well. Expedition preparations are moving according to schedule. Not only has Derek continued to report that Aaron is behaving, but the man has managed to keep the pertinent details clandestine. At once, the other families assume this to be another wasteful boondoggle. He sits commandingly, his arms spread wide, cigar trailing smoke, baiting me with his confidence. He assumes I will attack, so you needn't worry. And just how is Derek doing? Miserable. But Aaron needs to be kept on a leash. I heard you strong-armed Hadil into assigning him as Aaron's personal errand boy. The director accordance. Okay, that makes him Derek's boss. You disapprove? He grins, baring his fangs. It's not a flinch. I don't protest your choices, but time is a factor. So I prefer you play with your food a little less indulgently. Forgive me for being a messy eater. My leather chair creaks as I lean forward, lacing fingers together. He's become too comfortable of late, emboldened by our truce and mutual partnership of quill. He assumes that makes us equals. So as he tightens the leash on Edwin, so too must I tighten his own. You're underestimating Edwin. He's useful, I agree, precisely because deception is his art, and he is quite the artist. Are you suggesting there's something you know that I don't? I stare at him for a count of 5 seconds. Mona, send in Eric. Mona, send in Agent Derek. My console crackles. Yes, Chairman. The tip of the man's tail flicks, subtly agitated. I lean back again, controlled. A moment passes, and then Agent Derek enters the room swiftly, but stiffly, avoiding the second chair as he moves to stand between his father and the door. Chairman, Secretary. Agent, I've called you here to make some professional assessments. You're leaving Evan unsupervised. There's a growl to his tone. A few taps to my desk's holographic display, and a coordinates report is projected between us. I flick the data towards him, and his eyes glow as his neural implants receive the information. Special agents under a director who reports directly to the chairman. What's this? The last several criminal activity reports for the tailspinner's respite. Your note, Director Hadell, found nothing of substance. As I've said several times now, even before Agent Derek's reassignment, your constant surveillance of Erwin is a distraction. Weren't you just saying I was underestimating him? I did. Not because he doesn't deserve to be watched, but because he deserves to be watched smartly. Your approach has been overt and brutish, where subtlety and finesse is required. It's clear to me you've allowed yourself to be manipulated by a query who has realized just how interesting you find him. Opening his mouth, the big wolf begins to bear more than just a fang. But I act first. Agent, what is your assessment of Aaron's preparations? Derek glances between us, hesitant. Fiercely competent, but too loyal and too soft. Insane. Cursory evidence suggests he is acting in good faith. I've reviewed his invoices and manifests to discover nothing of note. What communications I've monitored are routine. And what of your detective's instincts? He briefly regards his father, who has now mastered himself. Tarwolf flicks his cigar, still reviewing the report with glowing eyes. I believe Aaron's planning some parallel objective related to the expedition. There have been enough curious absences and other behavioral irregularities to suggest he's hiding something from me, even though I've detected nothing criminal. Interesting. Did he report this to Secretary Tarwolf? I did. It's curious that you failed to mention his secretary. He doesn't look at me. Flashing eyes still focus on quickly, parsing the data only he can see. His nose wrinkles. Then his eyes dim. If I reported every unsubstantiated intuition, you'd need a lot more cigars. Even from the renowned hero of the Battle of Sati, surely his assessment is worth due consideration. I'm certain the joint officers will agree. The secretaries of the company officers, who collectively elect and work under the chairman. I turn back to the younger wolf just as he sifts his weight. He's never been comfortable with that title, so I use it frequently. Incidentally, I happen to think we are starting Agent Derek, while both clumsy and risky, was ultimately a good decision, but not because of your juvenile intention to bully Aaron, by reminding him of your reach. The hero Sati is too tempting an opportunity for Aaron to ignore. He will use Derek's status and popularity to elevate his own, increasing his access to new contacts, networks, and opportunities. Meanwhile, Agent Derek will be able to observe the man's psychology far more closely than typical surveillance will allow. Will you agree, Agent? He has invited me many times now to escort him during active club hours and asked for some small, very visible labor, such as assisting with security. Predictable, though I'm sure he realizes that. I imagine he calculated that the risk of your discovering something meaningful is outweighed by the benefit of your proximity. But he's underestimated you, hasn't he, Agent? Enough, you presume incorrectly, that I didn't consider this. However, as an avid enjoyer of games, I'll play along with yours. He attempted he attempts to measure his annoyance, but still glances over his shoulder and at his son with hard eyes. Assuming your intuition is justified, just how critical an issue do you feel Aaron's parallel objective might be, Agent? Derek doesn't answer immediately. His throat tenses as if to swallow, but he stops himself with a short cough. I don't believe Aaron can be trusted, but I also have no present reason to assume he intends to act against you directly, given everything he has to lose. A point I've already made quite clear to him. So my reading of the situation is that he intends to profit off the expedition by discreetly selling information to a third party. Considering the need for relative secrecy, this could jeopardize the mission. Interesting. Thank you, Agent. I'm gratified that at least one of you realizes the actions needn't be direct to be perilous. I nodded Derek. He frowns. Toph yawns. If I'd have known this was going to be a trial, I'd have worn a flashier suit. I thought this was about you knowing something I didn't. I ignore him for now. He'll understand soon enough. What sort of third agent? What? What sort of third agent? What sort of third party agent do you think he's spying for the SWAT? What sort of a third? What sort of third party agent do you think he's spying for the SWAT? That was my first assumption as well, but current intelligence suggests Ureli's exile was more of a political upheaval than we first realized. This is a new sprite here for Derek. He looks kind of timid or worried here. Aaron's continued argument on how granting her asylum would force the order to act, and therefore provide us future openings to exploit, has proven correct. I believe Dr. Hadil mentioned the Hero Fund in his latest report. That was my first impression as well. He did, but by sending some racing order assassin like that here is telling that they're willing to risk war over a single exile. Derek nods. Given their close relationship, I doubt Aaron has any interest in seeing Ureli killed. And with the Hierophant already dispatched, negotiation with the Shred for Ureli's safety is likely off the table. She's obviously more valuable dead. That being the case, the next most likely group for Aaron to work with is the Cybersea Collective. They have the most to gain from information he could offer due to his. He changes. He chances a very dangerous look at his father. Proximity to Laotian politics. Tarvel's brow tightens. Good. About that, I tap my console. Mona send in speaker Chavon. Yes, Chairman. The large wolfman makes an irritated noise. We skipped my trial and gone straight to the punishment, I see. How amusing that you admonish me for being the indulgent one. I smile. A moment later, the door opens and the graceful, feathered form of our good Speaker of the People's Assembly steps through. The lawmaking body of representatives elected by the New Leo's citizenry. Thank you for waiting, Speaker. Chairman. She regards me with a bitter coldness. A moment later, the door opens and the graceful feathered form of our good Speaker of the People's Assembly steps through. The lawmaking body of representatives elected by the New Leo's citizenry. Thank you for waiting, Speaker. Chairman. She regards me with bitter coldness. At the expense of my other duties, I have brought the report you requested. I'll need to tighten the leash on her as well. Her eyes then flick from me to the wolves, pausing to assess them and the remaining orange hair. Agent, Secretary, Speaker, have a seat. He gestures to a chair. I'll stand. He shrugs the player off, but I know that look. Chavon clocked it immediately, but he's just now realizing he's realizing he's a lower seated person in the room, and standing will admit the fact bothers him. Good. Best to let the two of them soften each other up. Then I'll corner them separately. I do appreciate an efficient meeting. Afraid of something, Speaker. Only on reducing myself. So I begin? She looks at me. Torolf does not, his narrow eyes promising retribution. One moment. I turn my attention to Derek, who has become understandably unnerved by the increasingly hostile atmosphere. I might be inclined towards benevolence, given his good work. Am I dismissed, Chairman? But the trap is not yet sprung. So his question is a plea for escape that I do not grant. Not quite yet, Agent. Speaker, please inform the Secretary what you've learned. She nods. My sources report that the Cybersea Collective has discovered the details of your planned expedition and are making plans to interfere, an ambush, likely. There are rumors. The larger wolfman interrupts her with a loud, bored sigh. Is this your gotcha, Chairman? Embarrassment. Of course, the collective has plans. By design, I personally leak information to give them no other choice. It's my job to root out and destroy domestic terrorists. He regards Chavon with a victorious lick to his muzzle. Do you have anything actually useful to report. She does not flinch. If you two would be so kind as to actually inform me about the nature of your expedition. A company matter. The People's Assembly simply does not have jurisdiction. It would be more honest for you to say, know your business. Which you of course realize would sound extremely suspicious. Especially when you demand I squeeze my personal contacts for information on private citizens like a certain Edwin of the Ryan. Or Wolf, specifically. Is the ocean intelligence not up to the task? He ominously sifts his weight, coiling his tail so it looks like he might spring. Savon's form tenses. Mine does not. Father, the elder wolf relaxes only slightly. Going around the Office of Defense sets a dangerous precedent, Chairman. I'm sure the other officers will be curious which one you intended to ignore next. You're being dramatic. I employed the speaker to investigate the man as a personal curiosity. Quietly and gracefully, two things you seem to find very challenging. I see. And did you discover proof of everyone's involvement with the collective? No. Well, I'm sure your constituents will be pleased to know how you're being paid to waste government time. You didn't let me finish. I think you'll see my constituents will be quite pleased to know I'm doing your job. She's needling him, while entertaining is challenging to control. Speaker. She sighs. As I was saying, rumor has it that this company matter is none other than a search for the legendary virtuous AI. Through my investigation, I can confirm that despite whatever bullshit you fed him, Evan believes that rumor. I controlled a sudden desire to lift my brows. This was not in the summary of her report. Having just lifted his glass, Tarwolf likewise pauses, mid-sip, eyeing me over the rim. Our differences aside, such a rumor is a problem for both of us, especially in the hands of a slippery asset like Erwin. I make a discreet finger gesture, indicating to him that this is also news to me. Apparently, Savon has a play of her own. What say you, agent? Admirably, he maintained his composure, but he doesn't understand the stakes. I've heard nothing of this, but as I mentioned, Edwin has invaded me at times. It's baseless, of course. Why should rumors concern us? Savon regards him coolly. Because he's a philosopher who believes in the old stories and is worried the chairman intends to become a god. She then turns to me, a quirk of her lip, revealing there's more to this. I must pivot quickly. I wouldn't rule it out. She stares. Excuse me? This time Derek's eyes widen. Even Tarwolf is taken off guard. This is not our agreed upon strategy. I'll admit a piece of powerful technology is on the line. You are an intelligent woman and can infer as much, so I won't bother trying to hide it from you. Further silence or denial at this point will only feed the rumor. Agent Derek can confirm as much. He masters himself quickly. Coordinates were discovered in one of the newly restored archaeology labs. Indeed, I've been aware of several still unaccounted for pre-catastrophe veracity research projects for many years. While they were presumed lost by my predecessors, I'm not so easily convinced. You are, of course, aware of the bike credits I've set aside to fund my investigations. Yes, you've wasted quite a bit. So you believe in this tailspin of nonsense? Let's be frank, Savon. Innovation in the company has stalled for decades. We need an infusion of new ideas and technologies. That is my primary motivation. However, if something has the power to strengthen my hold over the company in this city, are you so naive as to expect I would not employ it? She was not expecting I would be so honest. Tarwolf, however, quickly understands the need for this adjustment and lifts his glass, casually observing the remainder of his drink. Our dear chairman has never been subtle about her business. Unbalanced, her posture is discordant, a mixture of tight and loose. You can't be serious, even you, Tarwolf. You're supposed to be a check on her. This would be your distant grandfather's attempted coup all over again. The other families would never stand for it. They would decimate you first. She points accusingly at him, and then to Derek, tone becoming shrill. Are both of you that hungry for civil war? Hardly. Secretary Alotic Derag was an aggressive and violent man, and detriment to the city. Tarwolf may be unsubtle, but New Leos may be the one thing he holds in higher esteem than his family or himself. The large man shrugs. I don't disagree. My great-great-grandfather had his reasons for taking extreme measures, but this is a different time. The woman simply opens her mouth and then snaps it shut. As expected, she had not prepared a counter-argument to this particular outcome. You may disagree with my goals, Savon, but do keep in mind that I have not had to employ hit squads or blow up buildings. Regardless of the nature of this lost technology, I will take advantage of any opportunity to ensure the future stability of our regime. I turn to Tarwolf. Assuming the Secretary of Defense agrees, he dismissively raised his cigar. I do. Best we find whatever's to be found before anyone else has an opportunity to use it against us. Good. Now to rein him back in. Indeed, in a conclusion you might have reached without me had you listened to your son's concerns. Tarwolf regards me with a venomous smile. I've embarrassed him. Derek shifts a step back and out of sight of his father's peripheral. The families will never allow the consolidation of power you're implying, so forgive me if I don't see how stability is a foregone conclusion. Her posture and voice are now notably more controlled, barely. Come on, Savon. Certainly you agree strong leadership is in the people's best interest, especially in these trying times with Strads and aggressors at our doorstep. Regardless of the circumstances, concentrated power is always an invitation for abuse. The grip of her pad tightens. I won't debate that point. For whatever it's worth, should my ascendancy become an option, I will also uplift the relevant stakeholders to maintain an appropriate balance. After all, I am sharp because I am frequently challenged. So there would be little difference compared to how we run things now. That is an insane set of statements. She controls and channels fury into voice. I've always admired that about her, both forceful and sharp, even when pressed. Yours is an elected office. Exactly how do you propose we replace a goddess? Would you simply step down? My response must be equal. Are you so quick to forget how it was your family who helped put me here? I hate to think you're suggesting the Nask and the Brigger should cease our alliance. That would be very inconvenient for you. After all, even a goddess needs her court. She stares at me. I smile. A joke. Is it? We're engaging in a thoughtful experiment, Savon. People have been fantasizing about the mystical secrets of the cyber sea for ages. I too enjoy the occasional flight of fancy. You should see my SimStem collection. But as I illustrated, even if we did find some kind of God tech, the company would handle it responsibly, as we have all other we discovered technologies. The grip on her pad remains stiff. She is not convinced. Fine, but she does relent. That will suffice for now. One down. She's going to tell all this to the assembly. He puffs on that cigar as if to suggest I should do something about it. Your turn, little wolf. I might. And have them do what? Whatever it takes to promote future stability, as you said. Since we're all in agreement that's what we want. Enough with the subtext. Are you threatening to rally resistance in the People's Assembly against us? Because that will destabilize a status quo the city government and the company officers have maintained for centuries. Such a disturbance would make us look weak to our enemies, like the shred. It's only a threat if you're worried, Secretary. All I'm suggesting is that we want a conversation. We'll work with the chairman so long as our plans remain reasonable. The wolf keeps tapping his cigar, both Savon and I can see it. He does that when he's annoyed, and trying not to overstate his position but bare his teeth, the natural dwarf inclination. I'm pleased to hear it. Now, continue with your support. She nods. Current information suggests Aaron intends to assist the CSC to make certain you fail to acquire whatever technology there is to find. As I said earlier, predictable. Both Aaron and I knew he was going to leak information, which was why I was very specific about what information I gave him. That he might think we're going after God Tech is ultimately irrelevant, as we just discussed. He's a useful pawn. His eyes flicked to me. Is that all? I wait. If you ever allow me to finish a complete thought, they intend to target your son. A little more. I beg your pardon. What? The hero of Sati, whom you've so conveniently assigned to a place known to be patronized by tech punk descendants and collective operatives, who you're sending out into the white on a fool's expedition organized by an untrustworthy third party. I'm surprised by you, Secretary. You're not usually this careless. Oh, you have no idea. Now. I stand, interrupting his thoughts enough to cut him off, though his muzzle remains open. It would certainly be unfortunate if our timeline was delayed because of one man's overconfidence. I stared him down with a heated intensity I rarely employ. But more importantly, with how visible Agent Derek is due to his celebrity status, it would be a powerful statement if the CSC would harm him. It would also shake trust in our security apparatus and therefore in you, Secretary. He closed his muzzle with an audible snap. It's worth noting that the secure, far-right, dangerous material storage facility needs a new captain, and only a ranking quarters agent can act in that capacity. Assigning Agent Derek there would certainly keep him out of harm's way. I can see the tension building his shoulders and anger. He feels the least tighten. That position is a wasteful use of talented officers. You may as well lock them in a closet. Besides, weren't you just suggesting it was a good idea to assign Derek to the respite? I did. You also recall how I said it was both clumsy and risky. This is a consequence of that risk. Irrelevant. I have both Aaron and the CSC under control. I look back at Savon, and she pounces. And how is that exactly? Are you deaf? Have you not been hearing how I intentionally leaked information? How I have been manipulating the collective? Oh, I'm aware. You think you've manipulated them into a position where they have no choice but to act, and when they do, you'll strike. But with these rumors of godhood, even if untrue, they've become desperate. You didn't account for that, did you? And how was I supposed to know? By paying attention. Again, you surprised me, Secretary. A younger version of you would have already forced Agent Dark to make sure everyone had a conveniently fatal accident to prove your family is not to be trifled with. Either you're losing your touch, or perhaps this prey has become too much for you. I'm not an assassin. You're soft. Your father has known that for a long time. You've always been you've always been his weakness. Dolores will puffs one final time on his cigar and then stubs it out against the back of his hand. A puff of burnt fur fills my office with his stink. I have never been weak. Savon eyes the performance warily, and my son has proven many times that he can take care of himself. Naturally, Speaker, you would be the one to see all the joy sucked out of statecraft because that's your problem. You fear uncertainty, we embrace it. The game is a point, and the potential rewards are great. So if I choose to keep everyone alive, rest assured, it's because I've determined he's more useful to me that way. I have the situation handled. But in the light of the present threat to his son, the statement still rings hollow. I hope that's true for all our sakes, especially yours. She says it to Derek, finally relaxing the grip of her pad. I allow that final statement to hang for exactly 2 seconds, lifting her hand to stall any further reprisal. Enough. I believe my point has been made. Please continue your work, Secretary, but this time with all due caution and mindfulness of the potential consequences. Thank you, Speaker. You may go. The woman bows, glances at Torwolf a final time, and then sees herself out. Chairman, considering the news, you are to change nothing. After all, your father has everything handled. Thank you for coming. You're dismissed. He looks to his father, who also waves him off. Thank you, Chairman. I bow, and he exits. Torwolf watches his son go, waiting for the door to close behind him before standing and setting his now empty sniffer on my desk. Torwolf watches his son go, waiting for the door to close behind him before standing and setting his now empty sifter on my desk. A poor attempt to toss the carcass A poor attempt to toss the carcass of his cigar into the glass results in it spilling a bit of ash over the desk polished wood. Well played, Chairman. You are, as always, skilled at the game. I know Quio has approved of your leadership, but do keep in mind his appreciation for hierarchy extends only so long as you keep it. I smile. He does not bow as he leaves. I know Quio has approved of your leadership, but do keep in mind his appreciation for hierarchy extends only so long as you keep as you can. I know Quio has approved of your leadership, but do keep in mind his appreciation for hierarchy extends only so long as. I know Quill has approved of your leadership, but do keep in mind his appreciation for hierarchy extends only so long as you can keep it. I smile. He does not bow as he leaves. I wait until the door closes, eyeing the ass on my desk. How tedious. I brush some of it away. Mona, take an early lunch. Thank you, Chairman. Then I sit. Did you enjoy the show, Mother? You've been sloppy. I felt you immediately. An accent has dulled your finesse. Naturally, she is silent. I suppose I should at least thank you for not distracting me during my business. Managing Torwolf is a delicate affair on a good day, and now I have to deal with the phantom of a god thing haunting our saddles, his in particular. You could walk away at any time. There she is. A little too late for that, unless you prefer Quill get his metaphysical hands on your godforsaken AI backup. Because despite our supposed alliance, I know Tarov has every intention of finding it first. He won't know how to use it, of course, so he'll hand it off to Quill to garner favor. And you know what that would mean. You shown restraint and not having him killed. Please don't mistake convenience for compassion. For the moment, I need Tarov where he is. But you could certainly save me a lot of time in his life, potentially by simply telling me where you hid the damn thing. The backup is guarded and inaccessible. The world does not need more tail spinners. I will agree, if you act like one and fix all the things you've allowed to break. To what end, daughter? An endless cycle of repairs? There's no future down that road. Only a path, only a... There's no future down that road, only a long death. It's time for a different story. The people of this world should. We're not going to have this argument again. The people of this world have no idea what they've lost. Expecting them to make a rational decision about what they want is absurd. So if you won't act in your capacity as the last tail spinner, I will. What would that even look like? The past is gone. Will you unravel this world and all of its people just to bring back the old one? Even if you did, it wouldn't be the same. Have you tried? Now get out of my head and go bother one of your other clones. I'm sure the Wanderer, or whatever Vanya is calling herself, will listen. You shouldn't hate her. She's your sister. It's pointless to hate a fool. Besides, our familial ties diminished around the same time Quill started manipulating people into hunting us. All because of his hate for you. How many of his daughters, how many of us daughters are even left now? 6, 7? What does sisterhood even mean when you've seen most of them killed? She is quiet for several moments. 4. Interesting. I will turn the holographic maps on either side of my desk to their normal original positions. You deride Vanya for organizing a future while you discreetly organize your desk to project power. As reflections of mine, as reflections of me, you are more similar than different. She's become an unhinged fortune teller, a witch obsessed with opaque visions of infinite futures. If I had to spare time to find her, I'd run her out into the white and tell her to count every snowflake. Maybe then she realized the pointlessness of it. I work with facts. Darwolves are instinctually inclined to avoid people positioned behind objects set at to avoid people's position behind objects set at certain angles. They are sensitive to certain frequencies of light. Why am I bothering with this? You know all about them. You made them. That isn't. Tell me, what do you want of this? What do you want all this conversations over? Another long pause. I'm worried for you. Do you intend to do anything about it? There's a slippery curious that you draw the line and only barging into the heads of your daughters when Quill's primary agent is hovering down the hallway. One act of power becomes two, becomes many until, spare me your excuses, you've allowed yourself to become paralyzed by terror. Perhaps because these are mistakes I've already made, and I alone fully understand their consequence. Should you follow this path to its conclusion, soon too will you. Our destinies diverged a long time ago. One way or another, I will fix this world. Now take your terror somewhere else. Predictably, her presence begins to dim. Good. Bargainer. Yes, mistress? Return the lights to their usual intensity, but have them flicker at an irregular interval spaced no further apart than 5 seconds. Then send in the Hierophant. Oh, Wavy. I'm sorry. I traced that thread which connects us, warm and familiar. In some ways, I've been. Yes! Oh, I traced that thread which connects us, warm and familiar. In some ways, I've been no better than Cal, allowing grief to obscure a worthy, if different and uncertain future. For centuries, I allowed myself to be trapped in a story of my own making, blinding myself with the wrong promise that I needed to fix a thing that did not need it. Over time, one act of power invited another and another. There was no acceptable measure of completion until one day I realized I no longer recognized everything I had done, and I no longer recognized myself until you. Because I finally understand why Phil stole the stars so long ago, and why her last act was to place them in his hands, in my hands. Because I finally understand why Phil stole the stars so long ago. Because I finally understand why Phil stole the stars so long ago, and why her last act was to place them in my hands. We engineers are the weavers, the architects of dreams. Ravi, I don't know if any of Phil remains, but your connection to her is undeniable. You and her are the same, and so I love you both with such dangerous desperation. I know even a single act of love would see you forever altered, as I have been altered. So I'm sorry I can only apologize to this void and not to you. I'm sorry that I can only operate as your witness. And I'm sorry for my daughters. I urge them towards certainty, not for your sake, but to commit them to choices I know will change everything. One last time, because I can see it with open eyes now, my little dreamer, the 3D stars I have held bound for so long. To rid this world of our tailspinner's poison, for Phil's story to finally reach its end. So too must yours. To rid this world of our tailspinner's poison, for Phil's story to finally reach its end. So too must yours. It's the first intermission, so there'll certainly be another intermission in the future. So I'm gonna save right here. To be continued. So a lot of egos and powerful people here. You got the chairman who I guess basically runs the city. You got the Secretary of Defense Tarwolf that we've seen throughout the story. He very much doesn't like the fact that he is just below the chairman. He acts like he's supposed to be above her. And then you got the Speaker of the Parliament. So you got Derek in the middle of all of it. So I believe Derek has been part. He was sent to this the place where Ravi and his father have been at, more because for his safety, because apparently there's some people trying to kill him, I guess. I don't know, I guess it has to do something with the Strad War. So Aaron, who is Ravi's dad, they're discussing him, and I think that he may have some ties to the Strad, I guess, and that he's selling some valuable information to them. I guess that third party may be the Strad, and these people here and these Leosin people, these elite people are concerned about that, and okay. Trying to think here, quite a lot going on, in the story, but I guess that's what it is. So also there's some viable technology that the chairman wants, so the company can innovate and create new technology. And I think somebody else is trying to get to it. It could be Aaron. It could be also Tarwolf himself, I guess. And it seemed like both the chairman and Tarwolf have some kind of rivalry, and they clearly don't like each other. So so I might have to look back over this update again myself, and maybe by the time we get to the next build of the story, the main part, I'll have more information. But anyway, so this I forgot what it's called again. But anyway, this person that the chairman spoke to right at the end of this intermission, the chairman refers to her as her mother, and the chairman's her daughter. And then after their talk, this person basically apologized to Ravi that she couldn't be there with him, and that basically I don't know who that is. Could I also be Ravi's mother too? But could Ravi and the chairman be related? I don't think so. But anyway, there's a little confusion in the story here. A lot of parts going on here. But apparently this person here is connected to the chairman as a mother. Is also connected to Ravi. How, I don't know. But anyway, a lot of politics, a lot of terms that I gotta look over again. But anyway, we got to see Tarwolf in, he made it clear that Aaron's just a pawn for him. And we got to see some new poses for Tarwolf and Derek. And that's a big part of the new update here. They got new poses. So hopefully it won't be too long till the 5th build comes out, because the last one came out in June, so it's been 9 months. So hopefully within the next few months a new update will come out for the main story, build 5. So thank you all very much for watching. Goodbye.